Hello, my name is Cathy Hoehn, and I am a business teacher at Pendleton County High School. I'm here today recording this video so that I can introduce to you what MBA research curriculum can do for you and your DECA chapter. A little bit about myself. I am not only a business teacher at Pendleton County High School, but I am also a VIP kid teacher. So I am recording this from my home in my VIP kid classroom. So without further delay, let's get started. MBA Research and Curriculum Center is a nonprofit organization that's based out of the state of Ohio. It is research-based support for all business administration educators nationwide. If you were to head out to mbaresearch.org and took a look at the lessons or the laps that are offered, you would find that they come at quite a high price. However, in the state of Kentucky, all of the curriculum that is provided through MBA is ours to access completely free. So the agenda for today's session is for me first to show you what MBA research offers in terms of curriculum and kind of give you a crash course on how to navigate through the various resources. Then I would like to take you into the DECA resources and how MBA supports DECA in helping you prepare your students for competition. And the last thing on my agenda is to be able to tell you how you can access all of this information for free. So let's get started. On mbaresearch.org, at the homepage, to the left, you're going to notice quick links. The first link that I want to draw attention to is the Learning Center. The Learning Center is the platform where you would be able to locate and download all of the instructional models or lessons, otherwise known as laps, and you can use those in your classroom however you see fit. The Learning Center is initially set up to where you can have your students sign up and use it as a platform for learning through the Canvas platform. However, that is not required. For you to access the laps and to have them for free, then you would want to create your own Learning Center login and you'll set up a course and you can access all of the material. If you are interested in using the Canvas platform, then you would need to contact MBA Research because that feature would be charged. There are fees involved for that, even for member states. But again, the Learning Center is where you're going to access all of your material for free, and you can download and use those however you see fit in the classroom. You can also download and upload any of these lessons and documents to Schoology or Google Classroom. So know that that is an opportunity that is available to you and that using Canvas is not a requirement to be able to access the material. So if you noticed here, I just scrolled all the way down to the end of that, and I'm going to click where it says Access the Learning Center. I'm already set up, so I'm logging in underneath of myself, but remember at the end of today's session, you will be given instructions on how you can create your own login and be able to access your own lessons. All right, so welcome to the MBA Learning Center. Over on the left-hand side, you'll notice that the homepage directs us to the dashboard. This is where you get new information from MBA Research. Underneath of here is the coursework that I have set up. Again, because I do not use Canvas as my LMS for students, I created a course where I basically just download and upload the documents that I want. So I just put it all in one. You can make up however many courses that you want, just whatever you see fit. The first thing that we come to is the first lap I have listed is the nature of marketing. This lap gives us a pre-test. It also gives us underneath of learning objective A, many different websites or reading documents. If you were to click on any of those, then it takes you to what your students would see if they were in the Canvas program. Kind of just a reading text document, if you will. I'm going to click the back button. Again, I'm not using Canvas as an interactive program for my students, so I'm going to scroll all the way past this and get down to the good stuff. The instructor section. Under the instructor section, you notice that there is a discussion guide. We have 2 individual activities, 2 group activities. Answer guides are provided. There's also a student handout. You can focus on just objective A, B, or C. Oh. And then, of course, we have a learning guide answer key, and then finally your post-test. So let me scroll back up here and show you the discussion guide real quick. If we click on this, you'll see at the very top, it provides us with a performance indicator. This particular lap gives us the performance indicator of explaining marketing and its importance in a global economy. And the objectives that are covered within this particular lap is Objective A, explain the nature of marketing. B, explain the nature of the marketing concept. And C, explain how marketing affects our society. After that, you'll notice that we have a slide breakdown, which the PowerPoint can be downloaded as well. And it breaks it down to talking points. So you can kind of read over this before you deliver your lesson so that you know what the PowerPoint provides, what discussion questions, the key lessons that you would want to drill home with your students. And then sometimes as you scroll through the discussion guide, you'll notice that it provides you with links. Sometimes these links could be articles. Sometimes they could be a podcast. Other times it could be videos to have your students watch on YouTube. And of course, it goes all the way down until you get to the very bottom. And at the end of the discussion guide, it gives you talking points for what's known as the gray zone. These are ethical dilemmas that are updated on a regular basis. Here we go. You can use this as a discussion within your classrooms. Sometimes I use the gray zones as bell work, however you see fit. I also sometimes will use the make it pay section where it starts kind of taking what they've learned in this lesson and just bumping up how they relate to the material and kind of taking it away and extending with what they've already learned. As a side note, I do want to share with you that the MBA learning system sometimes has a tendency to run slow, and that can be frustrating, but good things come to those who wait. The individual learning activities, you can choose to use them or not use them. That's definitely your choice. This is an example of one. Provide you with directions to give your students as well as questions. And then if you also noticed, there was an answer key for this individual activity that's been provided. And that answer key, or answer guide, excuse me, is given to help you in relating and making sure that key points and key vocabulary, is continued to be reinforced in your classroom. Okay, so out of that, the one key takeaway that I would like for you to have with the discussion guide is the performance indicator, because we're going to be linking that up as when we get to the next section with the DECA information. Okay, the learning guide, as another side note, this is a document that I will sometimes use, and have the students use the student handouts and either fill in the answers as kind of a note-taking or self-guided note-taking. A lot of times I will even, use the PowerPoint, and I will actually teach to these particular questions and have them jot down the answers. So if I were to download this document, it would download in Microsoft Word. And at that point, you can manipulate that document. You can separate these objectives out if you wanted to. You can omit some of the questions or even add some of your own questions. That's okay too. And before we move on to the next, I wanted to show you. Here's the student handout that's black and white. There's another one with color, and then right here is your PowerPoint presentation. Those 3 downloadables are usually provided to you in front or above the instructor section. Okay, so let's go back to the home page. And from here, you're kind of thinking, all right, so she showed me Canvas and how to get this information, and she had a great lap that was already loaded and ready for her, but I don't even know what laps are being offered. That is going to be located in this section here. The lessons or laps that they offer is comprehensive. They offer quite a bit, and you're going to want to click where it says List of Laps. The listing of laps that are offered to you are broken into instructional areas. So let's say, for example, we were looking for the lap that I just showed you in the Learning Center. I would click on Marketing or the MK, and right here is the lap that I'm interested in. Sometimes the name can kind of give you some guidance as to the primary target or the primary learning targets that are offered within these laps. And so a lot of times I'll take a look at some of these titles, and if I want to see what's in it a little bit further, then I'll jump out to the Learning Center and go ahead and get those loaded. And then, dig into it from there. After you really start looking at this, you're going to find that you're going to be familiar with these laps, and you'll be able to recognize what your go-to is. On this screen, though, the one thing that I wanted to point out to you is how the laps are labeled. And this is going to come full circle for you when we, again, get into further of the MBA research material. So we have a 2-letter code. This is based on the instructional area, and then each lap is given a 3-digit identification number. All right, from here, we're going to go back to the home page, and I'm going to take us back into the Learning Center. Scrolling to the end so that I can click Access the Learning Center. I like to have this page bookmarked so that a way I can just click directly on the login screen. Okay, accessing the Learning Center, again, it launches us on the dashboard, but let's say that we are wanting to locate a particular promotions lap that I have chosen. To be able to add and access that into our courses, we would click on the Commons, which is on the left side of the screen. And from here, you'll notice a pop-up. This pop-up on the right side of my screen shows me that some of the laps that I already have loaded in my courses are updated. And it shows when it was updated and the fact that what I have in my coursework is outdated. So if I wanted to, right now, I could click View Update Notes and go ahead and get that updated. This right here is one of those great things about MBA research. They are constantly updating and providing the best researched, industry-based material for our students. So you can assure that you're not teaching something that's outdated. You're constantly getting updates. So let's say that this promotional lap that I'm looking for is the PR instructional area, and the identification number for the lap is 002. From here, I'm going to scroll down, and there I see the razzle dazzle, which is the nature of promotion. If I click on this, then it does provide me with a preview. In this preview, I can take a closer look, find out if this particular lap is teaching the material that I want to teach my students. I can see what learning objectives it has, what type of individual or group work it has. I can also see the learning guide, the post-test, and if I wanted to, I could go ahead and download the discussion guide, take a look at its performance indicator, as well as its targets, or its learning targets, and see if it matches what I want it to do. So I do want to teach the razzle dazzle. So to get it into my coursework, on the right-hand side, I'm going to click import/download. I'm going to choose to put it into my coursework, and then I'm going to say import into course. I've successfully started the import. It does take a little while to see your changes in your course, but sometimes it's relatively fast. So if we click over to our courses screen, you'll notice this wheel is continuing to spin. I use that as my kind of timer. When this stops, then I know that it's done. I find that sometimes I get very impatient and I go hunting and looking for stuff, and it just aids to my frustration. So I kind of give Canvas the time to do what it needs to do. And then it's all accessible to me. So as I mentioned before, Canvas is a little bit slow and requires some of your patience. So you'll notice as I scroll down here, all of the laps that I have included into my coursework, and that first one was maximized, but these here are minimized. My wheel has stopped. So when I get to the very bottom of my list, I'll see my razzle dazzle information. Again, everything that I previewed is here. It's now accessible. I can go to the instructor section or the download section and pull everything that I need. Okay, so before I move on to the next section of this agenda, one thing that I just wanted to reiterate is Canvas is the launching point for you to get all of your curriculum needs. Canvas can be used by your students. However, that comes at an additional fee. If you create your Canva account and you create your courses, you can access all of the curriculum and download those to use in your classroom for free. One of the great things about Canva is that you can download the coursework to where you can upload it into either Schoology or Google Classroom. And that would be another training session all on its own. But you could use MBA research as a resource with that. Heading back to the home page, you could Google a search. There's lots of people that can offer additional support. I myself use the download into Schoology. I'm very familiar with that, so you're welcome to contact me if you would like me to help you with that. I'm not all that familiar with Google Classroom, but I wouldn't mind learning it myself. So if that's something that you would like my assistance on, I'll be more than happy to do that with you. All right, so let's go ahead and head into the next part of our agenda. This is going to take us back to the home screen of the MBA research.org. At the homepage of MBAresearch.org, we've already taken a look at the Learning Center and the lesson and the laps. The next thing that I wanted to show you is the States Connection. The States Connection does require for you to have an additional login. Again, at the end of this session, I will show you and direct you on how you can have your own login and access the information for free. As a Kentucky member benefits, we have all of this available to us. A quick link to classroom activities, those gray zones that I mentioned earlier. You can also have the MBA dictionary at a quick link for you, and some project ideas and project management tools. What I want to focus on today is the curriculum. My bad. The course guides. I want to talk to you first about the course guides and what that offers to you. The course guides is just what it says. It's a guide to different courses and how you can use MBA curriculum in the classroom. Again, I will be tying this into DECA material, but you know that the best way to prepare for competition with our students is to incorporate the lessons that they learn from the classroom into the extension of the leadership opportunities with DECA. So if you're kind of at a point where you're deciding what do I need to include into my classroom that will seamlessly flow into the DECA competitions, the course guides is a great place for you to first look at. If you have access to the state's connection and you pick your course guide that you would like to have, it's just a matter of downloading. The course guides are available to you at no cost, but I want to highlight for you this section right here. Even though our course guides are available to us free of charge, when you go to download and put all of this into the shopping cart, you want to make sure that you follow the directions, clicking the access for free, completing the survey, and then at the end of the survey, you can copy and paste the download code to access your free materials, which will be emailed to you instantly. It's a little bit of a few extra steps, but again, it is well worth the wait and the extra steps to get it. I have a course guide that I've already downloaded for you, and we're going to take a quick look at this one. This course guide from MBA Research is for teaching marketing principles. It is an introductory level class. And if you notice on our table of contents, there's a lot that you can familiarize yourself in what marketing principles is designed to do, how it fits into the bigger picture, its overall philosophy, purpose, and goals that you can obtain. Course descriptions, learning outcomes, all of this stuff is available, as well as an outline that gives instructional time and an outline to planning, as well as project-based learning and projects. All right, scrolling on through, I want to focus on the planning level. So I'm going to jump to page 17. And in this planning, you'll see where it breaks it down into different units. By all means, you do not have to teach in the order that the course guide has provided you. It's purely just a recommendation. You may even go through this course guide and think to yourself, there is no way I can teach all of this in the amount of time that I have with my students. So you can then decide what is important for you to get across to your students and pick whatever you'd like. So here again, we notice performance indicators. That's a key word. We've seen that before. And you can also see laps. Here's one, lap 3, lap 4. In this, you'll notice that it just gives you 1 digit for your identification. Remember, when we work in Canvas, we have to use a 3-digit identification. So you would key in MK-004. And if you recall, that performance indicator that we saw at the top of the discussion guide, Explain Marketing and its importance in the global economy, is listed here as well. This goes all the way through the whole course curriculum. And by studying this, you'll be able to know what performance elements you're getting, what laps you should be focusing on. You can derive, your activities based on this, kind of funnel your way down. Okay, so the course guide is huge, 339 pages. It takes a while to download, and it's probably a document I wouldn't recommend that you print, but it is one that you can use as a reference, and I strongly encourage you to do this. All right, let me go back to the home page of our MBA Research State Connection. The next thing I want to show you is the curriculum builder. Now, this is where the magic happens. One, you can take your curriculum builder and you can build your own course. You can go to an existing course. Let's say that Principles of Marketing course guide I just showed you, you want to work off of that. So you want to build your own personal curriculum so that you can shorten that 339 page document and make it into your own document. You can click on Go to an existing course. But let's just say that you really don't have time for all of that. You just want to get information about a particular standard or competency, or maybe a performance indicator, possibly a performance indicator that your DECA students struggle with, and you want to find resources for them to be able to expand their knowledge in a particular performance indicator that they have scored weak on in prior competition. So let's click on that right there. We're going to say look for and view information on a particular competency. All right, so over here we see an indicator. The indicator for the performance indicator that I located in the marketing lap, the MK004, is MK001. Enter. And it brings me to that competency. Explain marketing and its importance in a global economy. And it also directs us to which lap it is. This, by the way, is kind of like MBA's standard. We have our standards here in Kentucky. MBA Research has their standard code. NBEA has their standard code. Eventually, Kentucky's goal is to have us working with the same targets or standards as MBA so that we can become a seamless transition with MBA research and really the rest of the nation as well. So this indicator may not mean much to you right now, aside from identifying the competency for your DECA competitions, but eventually that indicator is going to become quite important to you. All right, so if we click on this search icon, then it takes us to the curriculum framework for Business Administration Core, focusing on the performance element and the performance indicator, as well as the lap. This lap provides you with these objectives. Here's an activity that you can do, some optional activities that you can consider, possibly an ethics case for your students to review. And if you scroll to the very bottom, you can find crosswalks and instructional resources. So let me click right there. Instructional resources gives you the project that's available, the busyness of business, a quick assessment, a second project, don't be an oxymoron, and some type of briefing. Sometimes you'll find that the instructional resources only gives you one choice. Sometimes you'll click on an instructional resource and there won't be anything there. And that's okay. The MBA course builder and this curriculum builder is a working live site. So they'll add things as new things come up. But you can always click on reference books as well. You may have one of these textbooks sitting on your shelf collecting dust. So you kind of know this is where I need to go. And here's the lesson in that textbook. Hey, I've got that on my bookshelf. I can pull that out and use. Another thing you can look at is reference websites. Quick links to YouTubes. Sometimes I've seen podcasts, articles, different videos, just lots of good stuff. This is a great quick go-to, especially if in your DECA competitions, like I said, your performance indicator was scored low on, you need to give your students additional resources that's really going to help them. This is a great place for you to go. It also helps you within the classroom too. If you're kind of not for sure how to reteach a concept, you've already given them all the resources that you got, you're just digging for something extra, take a look here. You may find something new. All right, let me go back to the portal menu. Most of this other stuff we've already looked at. It's just additional links that they're giving you. The lap modules, again, it's taking you to the list of what's available. This page will actually show you those high costs that you're not going to be charged. The MBA Learning Center, if you want to go there, and then of course some program of study kits and that kind of thing. So awesome, awesome, awesome resource. Okay, so I have given you a lot of information about MBA research and all of the awesome resources. I've also alluded to how MBA research supports DECA competition. Now it's the time for me to take you to our DECA resources and kind of work our way backwards to see how MBA research can be used to support your DECA program. So I'm here on the DECA.org website. And from this point, I want to click on high school and I'm going to choose competitive events. Once loaded, this will show us a complete list of all of the competition events that your students are eligible to compete in. And we're going to scroll down, and most of my students like to do team decision making, so I'm just going to click on team decision making. You can look at any of them that you prefer, and by the way, I love how they've reorganized this website. Before, you just had to scroll and scroll and scroll, but this little menu option on the side has definitely made it more user friendly. Looking at the first event here, business law and ethics, it shows us resources of guidelines. And here is that key word that I have really been focusing on, and that is the performance indicators. That performance indicator, that right there is the sweet spot to your judges. That is what they want to make sure that your students are hitting and highlighting when they do any of their competition events. And as I'm scrolling through here, there's a lot of information that you can go back and read. But again, we see that we have our performance indicators here. And here is that wonderful code that we saw in MBA research. So I'm still logged in over at my portal menu. Let's go ahead and take a look and see if BL 163 is in the research portal. So I'm going to click on Curriculum Builder. Again, sometimes you may come out here and key in something and it's blank, or it may say, we don't have it. And if you do, that's okay. But again, good things come to those who wait. So let's be persistent. If their indicator is popping up and it doesn't show that there's anything available, well, then you just move on to the next resource that you have under your sleeve for DECA. MBA research is one great and valuable resource, but it is not your end-all be-all when it comes to DECA competition. So again, this one is BL 163. I'm going to come over here to the indicator, BL 163, hit enter. Ta-da! Good, it's here. So for me to be able to teach this, I go to lab, coincidentally, BL 163, and I click on that microphone, or not microphone, the magnifying glass, and I see those objectives. I see some activities that I can use, an ethical case study. Let's see if it has any instructional resources. That was a strikeout, but let's look at these reference books. Maybe some of these you have, maybe you don't. Maybe you can get your hands on it. Reference websites, voila. Look at all this. Different articles, a crash course. That's awesome. Great videos. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. Okay, and then of course it tells you what your lap is. So if you get to this point and you're like, whoa, this is a great lap. I want to teach this lap. Then from there, you can go ahead and let's go home. Let's head into our Learning Center. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, access the Learning Center. Again, I have it bookmarked somewhere up here, but I'm just being repetitive so that you all can find it and be able to see it. We're going to get ourselves logged in here. I do not have that lap already loaded into my courses, so I'm going to click on Commons. I'm going to click the search, and from here, I'm going to type in BL-163. There she is, laying down the law. Here's my quick review. What does it have to offer? Looks like I got a pre-test I could choose, A and B learning targets, 2 activities. I've got a gray zone. Look at all those websites I can choose. Learning guides, those are broken down into part 1 and part 2. Post-tests, part 1 and part 2. There's my handouts, PowerPoint, discussion guide, answer keys, you name it, it's got it. Now, for me to be able to access all of that, I'm going to click Import, Coursework. It's telling me it's successfully started the import. I'll head back into Courses. And again, this is the time where it takes a little bit of your patience. You're going to wait for that circle to stop spinning. And once it's done, scroll to the very bottom of this page and you have everything that you need. Okay, so the very last thing on my agenda is how do I get access to all of these great resources? To obtain a username and password to the Learning Center, which is your first go-to place in pulling this curriculum from, you have to send an email to Marcia Dreyer at helpme@mbaresearch.org. When you send Marcia Dreyer this email, you should state, "Hi, Marcia, I'm a Kentucky teacher, and I'd like to request teacher access to the MBA Learning Center." You're going to want to provide your full name, the name of your school, the address of your school, city, state, and zip code. I would also like to add on there that you should include not only the MBA Learning Center, but mention to her that you want that state connections as well. At one time, we did have to request for those access 2 separate times. They may have made changes to that, and one login goes to both of them. But I think in the very beginning days for me, I had a login for my Learning Center and a login for my state's connection. And eventually I wised up and I put them both as the same information. But I think the process to get them was individual or separate. So you may want to include that in your email as well, just to make sure that you can get to that curriculum builder so that you can take a look at those performance indicators. It is necessary to request this access to the Learning Center so that you can gain access to all of this material without paying a fee. Remember, if your school chooses to use Canvas as a learning management system, there will be fees involved with that, and you're more than welcome to reach out to someone at MBA and they can help guide you on that. You will receive a username and password to access the Learning Center. Please be certain to read and follow the directions with your username and your password email. And you may need to click a link or two to actually activate the Learning Center. It does take a little bit of time and effort to familiarize yourself with these resources, but I hope that today's session has given you a good crash course on kind of how to navigate it. Now, one last thing that I want to share with you is you witnessed my Learning Center already set up and ready to go. For you to get your Learning Center working and operational, you have to follow the Learning Center instructions. It's a bit cumbersome, but guys, this right here is the reason why we hear teachers say they don't like MBA research. But you know what? It's like a Band-Aid. If you just get in there and you just rip it off and you figure it out and take the time to access it, You will not regret it. Your resources are abundance in here. The database is large and wide, and it is all inclusive for you, not only to prepare your students for DECA competitions, but it can also prepare your students for FBLA competitions. If you are working with another advisor that is FBLA in your school, you can also use this to help guide you for your EOP testing, and MBA research helps you with the Ask exam if you choose to do that certification at your school. So I'm telling you, this resource is phenomenal for the DECA program, but it's all inclusive, guys. Okay, so here is a full set of instructions, and my only suggestion to you with this is that you create a course and you follow each step in order. First, you need to create an empty course. Then you need to name it. Then you have to enroll yourself. Then you can add your laps to your course from the Commons area, view your course settings, set your course homepage, and then you're good. You're good. You can access all of this information and let it roll. This getting started here goes into introducing your Canvas account, registering it, logging in, building it, all of that stuff for the LMS system. But this one right here is where you're really going to want to go so that you can get to your meat and potatoes without having to use that Canvas program if you don't need to. Again, when you go to look through this, guys, it's cumbersome, but never fear. If you have any questions at all, the people at MBA Learning they are awesome. They're super nice. I've called them before trying to get help and assistance. Hey, I'm stuck, and they are on top of it. And every time I've called the number, a person's actually picked up the phone. I haven't even had to go through an automated system. It's like it just goes straight to someone, and they're super nice, and it's just wonderful. It's great to be able to have that resource. And while these steps do look a bit cumbersome, I strongly encourage you to do this. And one last plug, and this is a plug for Betty Montgomery. She has worked exceptionally hard with getting us in this relationship with MBA. And let me tell you, it has done wonders for me and my teaching career. And I just know it's going to do wonders for you. For that very reason, for us to maintain our free access to all of this, MBA research wants to know that Kentucky teachers are using it. They're not going to give away all this free stuff if it's just sitting there collecting dust. So if you have multiple teachers in your building, do not be tempted to use one login for all teachers. Do us a favor and create a login for each teacher. That way, all of your activity and everything that you do underneath of that login is going to be recorded at MBA. And when they go to research and to evaluate the relationship that they have with the state of Kentucky, they're going to recognize, hey, they're really using us and they're doing great things. And they're not going to want to turn away from us. So that's just my little plug for Betty. She does a great job, and that's one thing that she always likes to encourage. Please, please, please encourage each person to have their own individual login, and let's use these resources to better our students, not only in the classroom with the EOPs and the Ask certification, but let's use it to where we can see our students walk across the stage at ICDC. If you have any questions for me, feel free to contact me. Let me take a moment just to type here my email address. Notice that my last name is spelled different than what I say. Cathy.Hoehn, CATHY.HOEHN at Pendleton.KY schools, caught my typo, .us. So feel free to email me. Again, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. If I don't know the answer, well, then we're going to learn it together. Have a great one. Bye, guys.